Good morning, students. And now, today we are going to continue with our next topic regarding Scolidon, that is, the digestive system of Scolidon. So, the digestive system of Scolidon, it consists of alimentary canal and digestive glands. So, first we will see the alimentary canal, and later on we will discuss about the digestive gland. So alimentary canal of Scolidon, it starts from mouth and terminates into anus. However, for our convenience of understanding, we are going to divide this digestive, you can say alimentary canal, into four zones. First one is ingressive zone, which include mouth and buccal cavity. The second one is progressive zone, which consists of pharynx, esophagus, and stomach. Third one is digestive zone, including small intestine. And fourth one is egressive zone, which contain large intestine, including rectum and anus. So these are four zones which we have divided the alimentary canal into these four zones. One by one we are going to study. First one is ingressive zone. Now ingressive zone, it consists of mouth and buccal cavity. So first of all we will look about the mouth. The mouth is a wide and crescentric opening on the ventral side of the head. As in the diagram it is seen that on the ventral side of the head there is a crescentric opening, which is a wide opening present on ventral side of the head. It is bounded by fold of skin. This we have already discussed in our topic regarding external features of Scolidon. So there also we have said that the mouth is bounded by fold of skin which forms the upper and lower lips, but these are immovable lips. Mouth internally, or you can say posteriorly, leads into buccal cavity. Then next part is buccal cavity. Now buccal cavity, it is a spacious dorsoventrally flattened chamber which is internally lined with thick mucous membrane. On the floor of buccal cavity there lies a muscular tongue which is there lies a tongue which is thick, flat and non-muscular and non-protrusible fold of mucous membrane. Now remember that in this case of Scolidon, the tongue is non-muscular, it is non-glandular and non-protrusible. As we can protrude our tongue out of the mouth, but this Scolidon, it cannot protrude its tongue. It is merely a fold of mucous membrane present in the buccal cavity. The mucous membrane is rough. That means the mucous membrane of the tongue is rough, and entire buccal cavity, lining of entire buccal cavity, it is rough due to presence of dermal denticles. The buccal cavity is bordered by jaws. You can say it is protected by jaws. The jaws contain teeth which are the modification of dermal denticles. The teeth are not attached to the jaw cartilage, as in our case the teeth are embedded in our jaw cartilage, but in this case the teeth are not attached to jaw cartilage, but simply they are embedded in the skin, and these teeth are sharp, oblique, without serrated margin. So here remember the teeth of Scolidon are oblique and they are without serrated margins. All the teeth are alike, that means all the teeth are similar. This condition is called homodont. That means this type of teeth are called as homodont type of teeth, and they are arranged in several rows. As we have already said that they are arranged in one or two rows in the jaws. If they are lost, that means if accidentally these teeth are lost from the jaw, they are replaced by other new teeth several times. That means several times if the teeth are broken or lost, then a new teeth may arise at the same place. So this condition is called polyphyodont. So teeth of Scolidon, are said to be homodont and polyphyodont. The teeth are not used for mastication. In our buccal cavity, in our jaws, the teeth, we use our teeth for mastication, for grinding of the food material. But in this case of Scoledon, the teeth are not used for mastication of the food, but these teeth in Scoledon, they prevent the prey from escaping. That means if once the Scoledon grasps the prey, it cannot escape from its mouth or buccal cavity. So due to this presence of oblique teeth, there are no buccal glands in the buccal cavity, but the mucus cells which are present in the lining of the buccal cavity, they secrete mucus for lubrication of the food material. Then second part of alimentary canal, that is progressive zone. The progressive zone consists of pharynx, esophagus and stomach. Firstly, pharynx. The pharynx, it is present behind the buccal cavity. That means buccal cavity posteriorly leads into pharynx. On the either side of pharynx, an oval pits of spiracle are present and 5 vertical internal gill slit of the gill pouches are also present. That means internally from the inner margin of the pharynx, there are 5 vertical gill slits which are the internal openings of the gill pouches, and also on the anterior side of the pharynx there are 2 oval pits which are spiracles. The spiracles are vestigial, that means they are of no use and cannot be seen externally. From external surface we cannot see the spiracle, but internally they are present. This we will discuss in the respiratory system of Scoledon. The pharynx differs from buccal cavity in 2 respects. That means pharynx and buccal cavity, they differ in 2 respects. Number 1, the inner lining of the pharynx is made up of endoderm, and the presence of gill slits and spiracle, they are also not found in buccal cavity. Otherwise, the lining of buccal cavity and the pharynx are similar, only the origin is different. The mucous lining of pharynx also possess dermal denticles and mucus cells. The next part, esophagus. Now, esophagus in the diagram, it is labeled here esophagus. Here is a esophagus. Now, this pharynx narrows down posteriorly so as to form the esophagus. The esophagus is short tube having thick muscular wall. It has thick muscular wall in the diagram. You can see here that it has thick muscular wall. The mucous membrane is raised into longitudinal folds known as rugues. Here you can see in the diagram, these are the longitudinal folds which are present on the inner lining of the esophagus, and these are said to be the rugue. Thus, the cavity of esophagus is completely closed. If this is a cut section, the diagram is showing cut section of esophagus, longitudinal cutting, and esophagus is cut open. But if it is just like a tube, then imagine the inner lining it containing rugue. The entire cavity of the esophagus is completely closed. It will prevent the entry of water which continuously passes through the pharynx for respiration. Whenever the fish respire, water enters through mouth into buccal cavity, from buccal cavity into pharynx, and from pharynx the water comes out through gills. Due to this, during this entire course of water current, the water escapes from gill slit other than entering into the esophagus. And why the water do not enter into esophagus? Because the rugues, longitudinal folds which are present in the esophagus, they prevent the entry of water, and thus the cavity of esophagus is completely closed. The next part is stomach. Now, stomach is present behind the esophagus. So, esophagus opens behind into stomach. At the junction of esophagus and stomach, there is a crescentric wall which is also shown in the diagram. Here, there is a crescentric wall which is called as esophageal wall. Then The stomach is J shape. In the diagram, we can see the stomach here. This is J shape, this one and this one. So this is a J shape structure having two limbs. The proximal limb, which is broader and longer, this is known as cardiac stomach. And the distal limb, which is short and narrow, this is called as pyloric stomach. So the stomach has two limbs, proximal longer and broader called as cardiac stomach, and the distal narrower and short called as pyloric stomach. So cardiac stomach and pyloric stomach. So we can say stomach is differentiated into two parts. From the junction of cardiac and pyloric stomach, here in the diagram we can see that here at the junction of pyloric and cardiac stomach, a small outgrowth is formed, which is called as blind sac. So this is the blind sac here. The longitudinal folds of cardiac stomach are continuous with the longitudinal folds of esophagus. As in the diagram, we can see these are the longitudinal fold, which we call as rug of the esophagus. These esophagus, the longitudinal fold, they are also continued into the cardiac stomach anteriorly, and posteriorly these longitudinal folds end into blind sac. That means after that these longitudinal folds are absent. So these longitudinal folds, they end up to blind sac. At the junction of cardiac and pyloric stomach, here there is a sphincter wall which is called as cardiac wall. This is sphincter wall here which is present, and this is called cardiac wall. So here there is esophageal wall, and here there is cardiac wall. The lining of pyloric stomach, this narrow tube lining of pyloric stomach, it is very smooth and only a few folds are present near its distal end. Here again in the diagram we can see here are some folds. So only few folds are present at the distal end. At the end of pyloric stomach, there is a circular band of muscle fiber which is called as pyloric valve. So now look at this. The stomach has three walls. At the anterior opening, it has esophageal wall. At the junction of cardiac and pyloric stomach, there is a cardiac wall, and at the terminal end of pyloric stomach, there is a pyloric wall. So here, this is pyloric wall. So at the end of pyloric stomach, there is a circular band of muscle fiber which is known as pyloric wall, which guard the opening of stomach into a small thick-walled muscular chamber called bursa antiana, and this bursa antiana posteriorly continues into intestine. The stomach is suspended in the body cavity by a double fold of peritoneum called mesogaster. Then third part of alimentary canal, that is degressive zone. So degressive zone include intestine. Now intestine is the posterior continuation after stomach. So stomach leads into intestine. It is a straight tube about the diameter of cardiac stomach in the middle region. Anteriorly, it receives bile duct. In the diagram here, we have shown the intestine anteriorly receives bile duct and pancreatic duct. Bile duct comes from liver and pancreatic duct comes from pancreas. Thus, the anterior part may be called as a duodenum, as in other higher chordates. In our digestive system also, our intestine anteriorly receives bile duct from liver and pancreatic duct from pancreas. So here this anterior part of our intestine we call as a duodenum. So here also the anterior part is referred as a duodenum, while the remaining part of intestine may be called as ileum. The internal surface of intestine is increased by presence of a characteristic fold of muscle, characteristic fold of mucous membrane known as scroll walls. So here in this diagram, these are the scroll walls. These are the characteristic folds of mucous membrane. Now here in this diagram, it is more clear. This is the TS of scroll wall. This is the intestine which is cut open to show the scroll wall. One edge of this scroll wall, here in the diagram we can see that this one edge of the scroll wall is attached to intestinal mucosa, while the other edge is rolled up longitudinally on itself into a scroll, having an anti-clockwise spiral of about 2.5 turns. This scroll wall not only increases the absorptive surface of intestine, but also it downs the passage of food through ileum. That means it slows down the passage of food when food passes through intestine. So it slowly passes through intestine so that the complete digestion may occur due to the secretion of bile and also the pancreatic juice. So all these juices, they get mixed with the semi-digested food coming from stomach, and hence the complete digestion occurs in this intestine. Then fourth part is, or the last part of alimentary canal, it is egressive zone. So egressive zone consists of rectum and anus. Now rectum is the continuation of intestine. Intestine posteriorly continues into rectum. Rectum is short and narrow tube which opens behind into cloaca through the anus. The tubular rectal or cecal gland opens closely into rectum. Here, these are the rectal glands. These are tube-like which opens into the rectum. The cloaca also receives the opening of urinogenital ducts. In the cloaca, there are also opening of urinogenital duct here. So this is the part of cloaca. This is the rectum. This is the rectal gland. So a rectal wall is present at the junction of intestine and rectum. Here also valve at rectal opening is shown. So this is present at the junction of rectum and intestine. And cloaca is a short terminal chamber which receives alimentary canal and urinogenital duct. It also receives a pair of abdominal pores leading from the splanchnocoel. So this is about the alimentary canal. Now we will see the digestive glands. So in this diagram, various digestive glands of Scorodon are shown. The glands which are associated with the alimentary canal are liver, pancreas, gastric gland, intestinal gland, rectal gland, and spleen. So one by one we will discuss. Firstly, liver. Now, liver of Scorodon, it is yellow or mustard colored gland which occupies a considerable length and the space of abdominal cavity. They are large in size. The two lobes of liver, that is right lobe and left lobe, they are united below the esophagus. That means here they are united behind the esophagus or below the esophagus by a short, strong double fold of peritoneum called falciform ligament. So they are connected by falciform ligament. A V-shaped gallbladder here. This is shown V-shaped gallbladder. This one V-shaped gallbladder, which stores the bile. This V-shaped gallbladder is present over the right lobe of liver. The bile duct or ductus choledicus, it carries the bile into the intestine and open into the dorsal wall. Bile duct also receive branches of lobes of liver. That is in the diagram also. It has shown that the bile duct, which is continuing from liver, it also receives the branches from various lobes. That means two lobes of the liver. The liver secretes bile. It stores glycogen and fat and destroys the worn out RBCs. The fat contributes 80% of the shark liver. Very large fatty livers in the shark, they have also hydrostatic functions. The next digestive gland is pancreas. So here the pancreas are shown in the diagram. Here this is a pancreas. The pancreas is a compact whitish gland present between the two lobes of stomach. So this one is the cardiac stomach and this is the pyloric stomach. In between these two lobes here, the pancreas is present. It consists of two lobes, a longer dorsal lobe running parallel to the posterior part of cardiac stomach and a smaller ventral lobe which lie close to the pyloric stomach. A pancreas or a pancreatic duct runs through the whole length of gland and open into the intestine opposite at the aperture of bile duct that we have already discussed in the duodenum. The pancreas secrete pancreatic juice for digestion in the intestine. The next gland is gastric gland. That means the gland of stomach. These are microscopic and submicroscopic cells which occur in the wall of stomach. They secrete gastric juice for digestion of the food. Next gland is intestinal gland. These are present in the wall of intestine. These glands also lie in the wall of intestine. They secrete succus entericus, that means also called as intestinal juice. Then next one is rectal gland that we have shown here. Here this is the rectal gland, which are tubular, small tubular rectal gland. Small finger-like structure is attached to the dorsal wall of the rectum. It is highly vascular and composed of lymphoid tissue. However, its function is not well known. And the last one is spleen. It is a large gland attached to cardiac stomach. It is not a digestive gland but a lymphoid organ which produces lymphocytes. So this is all about the digestive system of Scalodon. The whole material regarding Scalodon is taken from a textbook of Cordet, of which the authors are Bhamra and Juneja, and which is published by Anmol Publication. Thank you very much.